Hello, today I am going to demonstrate how I create a pattern for this ear flap hat. So it's a hat, a baby hat that has a flap under the brim to cover the ears. Okay, so the first thing I do is I sketch the shape, and the shape is the body of the hat has a rectangular shape, just like the simple plain folded hem hat that I have uploaded earlier. And the two basic measurements you need are your hat width and your hat height, which you can get from a head size chart. I have a free size guide which I will leave a link to in the description. And within this chart you have within this guide you have charts for different parts of the body and different sizes from baby to adult, man and woman. So this hat that I'm creating a pattern for is going to be for a 3 to 6 month old. Therefore, the width of the hat will be 14 inches and the height of the hat will be 6.25 inches. So I'm going to put that into my sketch. 14 inches wide, 6.25 inches tall. And I've demarcated the hem, the brim of the hat. And I'm going to allot 1 inch to that hem, as I have done here. And so that reduces the rest of the hat to 5.25 inches. Okay. Now, because I do not want my hem to curl or roll, I'm going to need to fold it over, and the fold is the same 1 inch as the height of the hem. So that's where this other 1 inch comes from. That's the part that will be folded under rather, to prevent the hem from curling or rolling on itself, which is what happens with knitting the edges. Okay. So now bear in mind that this pattern is for a close fitting hat. It's a hat that fits close to the head. If we wanted a slouchy hat, we would add to the hat height and to the hat width after the hem. The next step is to choose a pattern for our hat. So you need to decide if the hat is going to be a stockinette fabric, that's a plain knit fabric, or a garter fabric, or a tuck stitch fabric, or a skip stitch fabric, or a lace fabric, or a cabled fabric. So you need to decide on the fabric pattern, and then choose the tension that you want to knit at, and then knit a sample swatch. The reason for this is so that we can get an accurate gauge to knit our hat with. And it's really important to create a gauge swatch before you start, so that your project comes out the way you want it to be, the exact size you want it to be. And if you need more help with determining your gauge, I have a link in the description to a gauge calculator and videos to help you with that. So what I did was I knit a plain white fabric. I knit a plain stockinette fabric using Yeye yarn. It's a Nigerian brand at tension 6, and my gauge is 12 rows in an inch and 7 stitches in an inch. And applying the gauge to our measurements in inches will give these stitches and rows. So 14 inches became, or is equivalent to, 98 stitches. And then an inch of height is equivalent to 12 rows, and 5.25 inches of height is equivalent to 63 rows. So this is a basic hat block. Now let's add ear flaps. Okay. To add ear flaps, we need to divide the width into 4, because we're going to have 4 parts to our hat: the front curve between the ear flaps, then an ear flap, then the back curve, of the hat at the back neckline, and then the second ear flap. So those are 4 sections. So if you divide the width into 4, you're going to have 98 divided by 4, which gives us 24.5. But since we do not have half needles on our knitting machines, essentially we have 3 sections with 24 stitches and 1 section with 25 stitches. So bear in mind that the front curve of the head between the ear flaps is slightly wider than the back curve of the head at the neck. So to account for that, I make the ear flaps 24 stitches wide, and then I make the front curve 28 stitches wide and the back curve 22 stitches wide. So I take away from the back curve and add to the front curve between the ear flaps, so that the ear flaps fit right over the ears and they are not shifted toward the front of the head. So if you add all the numbers, 24 stitches for the flap, 24 stitches for the second flap, 28 stitches for the front curve around the forehead, 22 stitches for the back curve around the neck, you're going to still have your 98 stitches. And then I have included the flap in my sketch. Okay. And since I'm knitting this hat flat, the back curve, which has 22 stitches, I'll need to split it into 2 to become 11 stitches each. And that's why I have 11 stitches here and 11 stitches here. If we folded it together, we'll still have our 22 stitches at the back. And I've summarized the rest of the information for this pattern, which is my gauge, my yarn. I ended up using just 1 ball of yarn for this hat, the color of the yarn, and now we're ready to begin knitting this pattern.